Mah and Ben the Partsufizum says like this. This boyer be'etz chaim, he says, the Yatzor of the Kelev ha'oros the olam on the kudim shehem shem ben, below niskaim ha'oros bekelim, and they were not able to stay in their kelim. V'natzer shviris ha'kelim, v'naflu ha'kelim the bia, the kelim fell the viba ha'oros the sha'ara betzilos, and they're not with the oros anymore. For the tzorach hatikun, for the purpose of the tikun, hotzeh ha'ma'atzel and shem ma ha'chadash, he brought out this concept, which is the name ha'chadash. I had to think through this. It comes from the, try to remember this, it comes from the forehead of Ak. Hotzeh ha'ma'atzel Hashem ma ha'chadash, he brings that out. And shehu ha'mavarach ha'mesaken es ha'kelim de ben. So it refines them out, the kelim which are broken, and the fixes them. And at that time, everything was mesukin, or it was mesukin what was able to be done then. And from them they make the partsufim. All the rest nisaknim ayidenu b'shis alfei shnin. This is where we're at right now. Ayidenu b'tesenu b'sarek b'mitzvahs, etc. So beginning in the Olam HaTohu. What's the Olam HaTohu? Kolam HaShvira. That's the Olam of Nekudim, before the Shvira. You also wrote Spheres al Malchios, the Pratios, to call Echad Me'ezes Spheres the Shem Ben. So only the Malchus of the 10 spheres of Ben came out. Vofen HaTikun, the way the Tikun is, Ayidei Mamshichim as called the Chasaras Spheres the Shem Ma. So you bring all the 10 spheres of Shem Ma and try to match them up. Ves Hatesha Spheres al Yonah the Pratos, to call the Spheros the Shem Ben, and you take the upper spheros, the other upper 9, specifically of the Shem Ben. The Kitzer, Heim Nekroyim, well, I've never seen this before, Tas the Ben, Vyas the Ma. The Nimsa should call parts of, you have 9, so 10, going down to B'Misakin 9. The Nimsa, which is mashma, that what? The Malchus is, what, still in Bia, or the Malchus is already Mesukin, I'm not sure what he means. Nimsa should call parts of Mafartsufi Atzilos, so all of the partsuf in them, they were already in the Sukkah. Kolu kol echad mecholokim d'shem ma'u mecholokim d'shem ben. So everything was Mesukkah is partially ma, partially ben. The Eitz Chaim is bar b'chavichos ezel cholokim d'ma ve'ezel cholokim d'ben. Lo kol parts of the parts of we know in Shar Atek. That's what happens over there. Let me bring this down a little bit more. So it says, so what we're really talking about here, Mashin is boyer sham, parts of a zeranpen is sakim, that is the chagat nai, the shem ma, umebak the shem ben. So zeranpen apparently is masukin in the ma and the ben. Velu parts of a nok, that silos, the sakim is svirach malchus, the shem ma, v'amamalchus the shem ben. So the nok is just the malchus, the malchus of ma and the malchus of ben. V'hine chelik hama, the called parts of who bechinas hadacher shall of parts of v'chelik haben. So we say there's a ben and there's a ma in every parts of. So who chelik hanukva shalom. Tzad yamin the parts of who chelik hama shalom. So when you look at the parts of it, you see. Okay, so he says, Tzad Yamin, the parts of Kuchela Kamashalo, the right side is going to be the Ma, the Tzad Small, the parts of Kuchela Kaben Shalom. Then he says, we have this concept now called Zuna Hagadolim v'Yaakov Arachel. So you think of the parts of Zah Kolum, Shtei Bechinos, and Ikroim Zuna Hagadolim, and one of them is called Zuna Hagadolim. So when we say Zun, I guess he means, generally speaking, Zuna Hagadolim, the Tzad Yamin Shalom, and on the right side, and the Ma, which is made out of the vok of Zan. We're talking about Zer Anpin in his original state, where he's a vok. The Ma Nikra Zah, that's called Zer Anpin. b'tzad small shalo, but he's talking about zun, or he's talking about zun Hagadolim. He says the parts of which is on the left side, and on the asim of the ben, nikra nuk. So we have a nuk in the zun, and a male. So the parts of nuk are klali, kolu mishnei bechinos. So let's just look at the nuk. She has two different bechinos, a nikraim Yaakov and Rachel. So now he's saying that Yaakov and Rachel refer to the nuk of Zeranpin. That's Malchus. Malchus is also broken up into Yaakov and Rachel, but it sounds like the tzad yamin benuk. Looking at the nuk also has a right side and a left side. But on the asim b'malchus the ma, that part which is made out of the malchus the ma, nikra Yaakov b'tzad small shaloch on the asim b'malchus the ben, because he said they're only made out of the malchuses. So he said, Nikra Rachel, that's called Rachel, v'kol echem partzufim in this karim. So every one of the partzufim that we're talking about, nechlach af kul the Mah and Ben. So everything is divided into Mah and Ben, and I think you could go on and on with this. V'ofen sheyeshna Mah u Ben de Mah, u Mah u Ben de Ben. So there are these, whenever you're talking about Mah, you're talking about the Mah and Ben. And when you talk about Ben, well, there's going to be a Mah and Ben de Ben. So now let's talk this way. He says, now we're going to talk about the Ma u Ben the Mochim. So he said, Varn is bar the call Kumas Mochim, that he means Mochim the Arech, Mochim the Abba-Ima, Eloyan, and Mochim the Yasos. All of those Mochim were working on the Nechi, on the higher level. He said, Kululu Mishnei Bechinas Mochim, it has two different kinds of Mochim. This is more of his languaging, I think. He said, the Tzad HaDacher, he said mochin the tzad dacher or mochin the tzad nuk, for they're mochin on both sides. But mochin the arich kululim b'mochin the arich and b'mochin the nuk the arich. So you always have a male and a female in all the partzufim, but now he's talking about the mochim and the partzufim. Ha-mochin the Abba-Ima Elohim kululim b'mochin the Abba b'mochin the Ima. They have within them the mochin of Abba, and they also have the mochin of Ima. Well, Mochin the Yasos, Mochin of Yasos, Kalulim b'mochin the Yasos, and b'mochin the Tavuna. So they both have each of them in each other. So he said, "V'hinei kol echad b'chinas hamochin in this karam kolol selim." So now let's move on to this. So each one of the mochin then also has a selim shalom shal mochin selim. It's a tzadi. So the tzadi part of the tzalim, hey bechinas oros apinimium, those are interior lights, shel hamochim, hamispashtim besoch spheres of zah, which spread into the spheres of zah. That's what goes in. Now the lamed mem of the concept of the tzalim, hey ma'oros mekifin demochin, those are the mekifin. Ubechinas atzadik the mochin kolulim mishlosha bechinas amispashtim b'shlosha kavim. Now let me read this again. Now the tzaddik, which goes into Zeranpin, he says it has within it three different columns. Moach chochma, which goes down amispashtim b'spheres the kav yomim acham. Moach abida amispashtim b'spheres the kav small, which is bago. Magad Hadas, so he said, Muach Hadas, HaKol Shnei Itrid, Itrid the Chasadim, Itrid the Gevuros, HaMispashe, Besviras the Kavim Soy, like that. So far, a lot of this we know, except the nomenclature. And let's go on. Hine Tzad HaDacher, the called Kuma, that is Abba or Yaso. So we're talking about the right side. Nikra Ma, it's always called Ma, but Tzad Hanuk Shal Kuma, the called Kuma is, which is Ima or Tavuna, Nikra Ben. So the mochin that come out from them, Heim Gan came Bechinas Ma Ben. Mucha Chochma Hamispashet Bekav Yamim. So the Mucha Chochma spreads down the right line, which is the line of Chachan, Huba Bechinas Ma. Muach Abina Mispashet Bekav small and Bogo who Bechinas Ben. Muach the Chasadim the Das Mispashet Betzad Yomim the Kavim Soy. So now, I lost them. I didn't even know I lost them. Oh, no, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know I lost you there. I don't know where I was. He says, Muach HaChochma Mispashet B'Kav Yomim Chachon, it goes down that Hu B'chinas Ma. Muach HaBina Mispashet B'Kav Small, so what goes down the left line, and the Baga is going to be called the Binas of Ben. Muach HaChod V'Daz Mispashet B'Tzad Yomim B'Kav Imsoy goes down the right line of the middle line, light side of the middle line, which is called Dati. Hein B'Chinas Ma. V'Ramochem the Gevuras V'Daz Mispashet B'Tzad Small B'Kav Imsoy, and Emso, which is the Dati also. Hein B'Chinas Ben. So now we're dividing all the mochim into Ma u Ben. So he said, "Machshivim as muachadat v'kol asu b'pechinas Ma u Ben." So generally speaking, that's going to be a Ma and a Ben. Let me move this out of the way. On. Azai muach achochbach mispashet b'kav yamim nikra ma de ma. It's the ma of ma because, and he explains. He says it ma means what? Sad yamim, and the ma which is Abba. So that's the ma. The Abba is the right side of Abba. Muach habina. Now the bina amispashet b'kav small nikra ben de ma. So this goes down the left side of that is ben sad small. The ma which is Abba. So now we're talking about it like that. Muachadasim is pasha bekavim soy, so that with that line that goes down the middle of Ma u Ben de Ma, it's both of that because we're talking about Abba, and he explains Ma u Ben chasadim megavuros. So he said Ma u Ben means chasadim megavuros, the Ma which is Abba, so the chasadim megavuros of Abba. But with every example of Moch and the Ima, so you have the same thing in Moch and the Ima. Shehi b'chinas Ben. She says, "Az muach hachachma mispashet b'kav yamim." So she also has a chachma, goes down the right line. Nikra ma de ben, ma tzad yamim de ben, which is ima. Muach habina mispashet b'kav small, a nikra ben de ben, because now you have what? Is a ben tzad small, the ben which is ima. So ben de ben. So all of that kind of languaging there. Now let me see. Here we go. He says, "Umuachadas and mispashet b'kavim soy," the muachadas which goes down the middle line. Okay, let me just see 1 second. I got okay. So I'm sorry, Ma u Ben de Ben. That's on the email side, which is Ma and Ben. Chasad and Megavuros, but it's the Ben which is Ima. So now you have the same thing, same idea in the Mochin of Yasus and Tavuna. Amnan is bar be'etz chaim, so that explains in Eitz Chaim. We have a drawing down below. Ashar base Perik Yud. So I think it's a kuf. The Kodan Knesset of Mochin, the Hispaship is of Zer Anpen, before the Mochin come in to spread into Zer Anpen. Naasa Chilif, there's a Chilif that takes place. Now, so in the drawing, I thought I got a little bit of an idea of what happens in the Chilif. The Heinach of Mochim Boim Belubashim Benai the Abba. And the Nai the Ima. Muach HaChochba Benetzach. So he says that Muach HaBina Behod, Muach HaDas B'Yisod. So it's the same line of looking at the drawing. You have one side which is Abba, one side is Ima. All of them have a Nai. And inside of the Nai and the Netzach has the Chochma on both of them. And they're actually duplicates across the top. And the Muach HaDas is Chasadim B'Gevur Sadach and Muach Babina. You see it like that. So the same thing is true of Ima. You have a Netzach Hod Yisod of Ima. And you have the Muach HaChochma, the Muach HaBina, and then the split in the middle. So that's the way it starts out. Now let's see, he's going to give some detail here. Benasa Chilif, but they make a switch. What happens in the switch? And so kind of, the question is I like somebody just to say, well, this is the reason for the switch. I think you could see it in the drawing some. And let's keep going. So let's talk about the Bina of Abba. It switches with the right side of Ima, with the Chochma of Ima. Small, which is on the left side of the Yisod of Abba. Nechlof, it switches. The Yisod the Ima. So let me see if I can, and we'll come down and we'll look at the drawing a little bit. Small, so now the Mochen that were on the left side of Abba, Nimsoim besad Yamim the Ima is now going to be on the left side of the right side of Ima. Over Amochim Shechoya besad Yamim the Ima, the right side of Ima, Nimsam besad Small the Abba, Val Derek Zeren the Asa Hachida B'Mochin the Yasos and Tabuna, the same thing with them. Let's look further at the drawing for a minute. And let's see. After we have Abba-Ima and we have the nai of each of them. I think that was where it stops right there. Okay, that was the shiur today as far as we could get. Okay.